Imagine this. There's a young woman, Sarah, who was deeply in love with a man named David. They shared dreams, went on adventures, and she thought she'd be with him forever. But one day, out of nowhere, David told her he didn't want to be with her anymore. "You're just not what I'm looking for," he said, leaving Sarah heartbroken and feeling like she wasn't good enough. For days, she could hardly get out of bed. Her mind was filled with questions. What did I do wrong? Wasn't I enough? She went over their relationship in her mind, searching for answers. It felt like her world had shattered, and she wasn't sure she'd ever feel whole again. At first, Sarah tried to change herself, thinking maybe she could win him back. But then, she had a moment of clarity. Why am I trying to prove myself to someone who walked away from me? She realized that if she wanted to feel whole again, she'd have to put her energy into rebuilding her life, not for him, but for herself. So Sarah made a decision. She would focus on becoming the best version of herself. She started by taking small steps, getting back into her routine, spending more time with her friends, and focusing on her work. But she also went deeper. She began to set goals for herself. She'd always dreamed of starting her own business, and now she saw this heartbreak as a chance to go for it. The road wasn't easy. She faced a lot of challenges and days when she felt like giving up. But each time she thought of her hurt, she reminded herself, this isn't the end of my story. Instead of focusing on her pain, she focused on her future. Over time, Sarah's business began to grow. She connected with other passionate people who lifted her up and inspired her. She took courses, read books, and slowly became an expert in her field. The more she grew, the less she thought about David, and the more she realized that losing him had opened doors she never would have walked through otherwise. Months turned into years. One day, Sarah was invited to speak at a major event in her industry. Standing on that stage, she felt a wave of pride wash over her. She'd built something meaningful and achieved more than she ever thought possible, and she did it on her own terms. As she looked out at the audience, she noticed a familiar face. It was David. He was sitting in the crowd, listening to her speak, with a look on his face that seemed to say, "I didn't know she was capable of all this." But Sarah no longer needed his approval. Her success, her happiness, was her own, and she knew deep down that she had become stronger, wiser, and more resilient because of her journey. After her speech, David approached her and told her how proud he was of everything she'd achieved. He even hinted that he regretted ending things between them. But Sarah just smiled. She thanked him, wished him well, and walked away with a heart full of peace. Sarah learned that the best revenge wasn't to make him feel bad or regretful. The best revenge was to rise above, to create a life so full and rich that she didn't need his validation. She had become a person she was proud of, someone who had taken heartbreak and turned it into strength, resilience, and success. In the end, Sarah's story wasn't about getting back at David. It was about rediscovering her own worth, about showing herself that she was capable of anything. The journey had been painful, but the result was beautiful. Her success was the quiet, powerful answer to anyone who had ever doubted her, including herself. And that was the best revenge of all. Hope you find the story very interesting. Please support me by sharing, like and comment. Thanks to you all. Bye.